Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to be covering how to self-study AP United States Government. Today's video is especially dedicated to my very good friend Meyer, whose YouTube channel you can check out here or in the description down below because he has been requesting this video for essentially ever. And so the people have spoken and I will not delay this any further. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. The number one question I start out with for anyone who approaches me asking me my tips and advice is honestly just to evaluate whether or not you should even self-study at all. You really want to take a good look at the bigger picture beforehand, because if your schedule doesn't align or if your skill set doesn't align, it's a very time-intensive task and you don't want to be wasting all of your time self-studying for an AP that you're either incapable of doing, which is totally fine because I didn't take certain APs for that reason, or your college that you want to attend doesn't take the credit. So number one, evaluate your schedule, see if you have enough time to dedicate towards AP Government. I would say times vary from person to person. If you have already taken a lot of the other AP histories, especially AP US history, and have a good firm grasp of how the government works, then you might just need a couple weeks. And if you've never taken an AP before, like I did with AP Psychology, you might need a month or the entire year to really cover all the material. Now, AP US Government, you'll typically cover in about a regular school semester, so it is one of the less intensive APs that you can self-study. So if this is the one that you want to choose to start out with, or just a simple one that you want to undertake, then this might be the option for you. Alrighty, so you've decided you want to take AP United States Government, and you don't know where to start. So here is where the materials come in. Now, since you're self-studying and you don't have a traditional classroom structure, the materials really come in clutch for you. The number one thing I would recommend when you self-study is, as always, a Princeton Review prep book. I cannot stress this enough. If you are taking an AP exam, the prep book is the most critical part of your preparation, as the name implies. It doesn't really matter what brand you use. I have used Barron's, I have used Princeton Review, and I have gotten 5s in multiple different subjects. So again, just use whatever is available to you. I think the writing style in Princeton Review is more digestible. It's a little bit more informal, but again, Barron's, Princeton Review, 5 steps to a 5, they all work. What's important is that you get one so you get access to the practice tests. I believe the premium version of Princeton Review should have 5 and the regular should have like 2 to 3, something like that. The practice tests are really important as a marker of where you stand in the class. Before every exam, you want to be able to take a practice exam and, see where you are. I usually say that the practice exams are a very accurate indicator. I have always gotten the same score that I did on my practice exams. And of course, there's also the content and the material in these prep books itself. They're so much more succinct and straight to the point in comparison to a regular textbook. I am a definite anti-textbook truther. I have not used a textbook in essentially ever. And that's just because they're loaded with unnecessary content. And the prep books are specifically designed for the exam, and you can honestly read them once or twice front to back. The method of note-taking that I would employ when tackling a subject like AP US Government is to read through a chapter and then write my own outlines or my study guides. I know there are a lot of outlines and study guides online, but if you make your own, you're actively, putting your thought and effort into it and building the connections yourself. I would personally read the chapter and then put the book away and then write everything that I remember down, because then you're using active recall and trying to explain it to someone. By someone, I mean the piece of paper, versus just copying it down from the book on the other side, because then it doesn't really click in your head. At least that is the experience for me. If you have a method of note-taking that works for you, then that's great. I would also like to say that AP US Government is not as memorization based. In regards to the histories, you really do need to understand the material more than you memorize the material, building connections, creating comparisons or understanding hypothetical scenarios. So as you're reading through these units and making your outlines, I would also highly recommend you to read the news. And maybe I might be biased because I went to college wanting to be a political science major, but I think this is also just beneficial for you to be a good functioning citizen of society. But read the news and try to connect the concepts that you learned in class to whatever you're reading. So for example, if you're learning about the branches of government, try to follow the Supreme Court news, or try to see what piece of legislation Congress is trying to pass that week. And watching this happen in real time with actual examples really helps you build in these concepts to your mind. Like I said, I came into, studying for AP US government with a strong background in politics already, just from reading the news and listening to podcasts. And I am a firm believer that these micro interactions, I think is the term, I coined it in my AP European history video, really help you build and solidify that foundation. Memorizing is one thing, but you're going to need to be able to apply it. And if you can actively think of examples in your day-to-day and interact with those examples from day to day, it just really helps you solidify all that content and information by yourself. So take notes, but also, listen to podcasts. I listen to the Daily, Today Explained, global news podcast by the BBC. Read the news. I read The Economist. I read The Hill, The New York Times, The Wall Street Journal. Try to be connected to what's going on. And I think especially if you are an American student, AP United States government is so special because politics is so important and so highlighted, as it should always be. But it's so much more important, and people are having conversations about it every day, so you can really interact with it more than ever. Continuing on my point, just supplementing on note-taking, if you're ever in a rut, there are so many materials on YouTube to help you with that. And there are Adam Norris reviews, which are a staple to any AP United States government student ever. There's also a Khan Academy course, which not every AP class has, and there's even a crash course playlist. Also, there is a couple of massive 2-hour night before cram review videos. I think the one that I watched was by Kelsey Falkowski. That is great too if you want to watch. I think it is basically tradition for me to watch those every single night before I take the exam and fall asleep to them. There are so many teachers that are putting out so much free content online for you to access. So again, I would recommend watching these videos if you want something clarified, or if you just want a break from reading, because reading and note-taking can be pretty difficult for some people, aka me, because I have a short attention span. So in my opinion, switching between these different avenues of media, reading and writing, and then watching videos, and then listening to a podcast, diversifying your different interactions helps keep the content interesting and helps keep the content interesting. And with so many tools at your disposal, you can just experiment with what works best for you instead of just, sitting in one place and reading a book, as students, a couple of decades must have had to have done before. That was hard and probably grammatically incorrect. Also, there's always Quizlet, and even though I said before that AP United States government is not as memorization based as other APs are, Quizlet is still helpful for certain parts that you do need to memorize, like the SCOTUS cases or the founding documents. You'll need all of these concepts for both the multiple choice and the FRQ, so it's best if you really drill it in, and if you don't know them by heart, then Quizlet is a really good place to start. Or if you're traditional, you can use flashcards. But yeah, the final thing that I would want to talk about is the CED, the course exam description, which a lot of people actually do not know about. But if you are self-studying and you're not familiar with the course design, then please check out the course exam description. It really, like the title infers it to be, it really breaks down everything that you'll be covering in the course and all the concepts that you need to tackle and all the skills you need in the class. Teachers will look at these when they design their lesson plans. It's what College Board sends out every year. So if you really want an accurate, from the source document that says, hey, you're gonna be learning about, checks and balances, term limits, blah, 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 then this is a document that you want to check out. And once you've gathered all those materials and, done your practice questions, done your outlines, done your reviews, done your Quizlets, watched all of the prep videos, that's basically it for at least 80% of the content that you need to know. The rest is obviously test taking, and obviously half of the exam is FRQs, and that has a lot of writing skills that go with it. And I don't want to cover a lot about that in my channel because I've just been using Heimler's history for all of my high school career, and I really swear by his channel. And so I would highly, highly recommend you guys check it out. Another thing is to probably check out the practice FRQs that are available on College Board. Unfortunately, they didn't post the more recent ones. I think they only allow it to be available on AP Classroom, which is slightly annoying because you need to be at school for that or registered in a class for that. However, I will say if your school does offer AP United States Government and you're just taking this for credit, reach out to your teachers. I'm sure they would be more than willing to provide you a copy of the FRQ or some practice material. At least that's what I did when I was self-studying some of my APs. When I reached out to my AP Psych teacher, she did not know me at all, and yet she was the loveliest person. And I know my AP United States Government teacher was awesome and would have loved to have helped anyone that was going to reach out to him and get materials. So that is definitely an avenue that you can take. Also, Princeton Review and Barron's in their practice tests will have, practice FRQs. What's important though is to collect as much as possible and do as much of these as possible, especially if you're not familiar with writing FRQs for AP classes and memorizing the rubric. And that is especially important. You don't want to write for eloquence. You want to write for it to get the point. That is something that a lot of people miss when taking exams for APs. I remember there's going to be an argumentative essay in your United States government exam, and it was a sham of an essay. It was pretty bad from at least an English standpoint, but it got all the marks, made all the right arguments, provided all the right points, and I got a 5. So that's that. Make sure that you're practicing a lot, make sure that you're writing a ton, make sure that you're getting someone else to grade it if possible. I will say that the FRQ section, if it's your first time tackling it, then you will require a lot of practice. If you have taken an AP history course, then you might not need a lot of practice. And if all fails, I have my contact info in the description of this video. Although please, watch through the whole video and make sure that I've covered everything before you shoot me an email, but I would be glad to help if there's anything I can do. I used to proofread a lot of people's FRQs that they sent me, so I will try my best to get back to you. And I really do commend you guys, for taking the initiative to not only take a college course in high school, which is so impressive because not a lot of people do that, but to self-study it. So, it can be very difficult. I cried so much when I was self-studying my first AP, and I turned out okay. If you play your cards right, it will definitely be worth it in the end. So to everybody watching, I hope you all get 5s and do well on your exam and get credit for them, and have a wonderful day. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.